Welcome to the Speak Pact podcast, where high-performing speakers and the producers who hire them merge to give you the insider secrets to the lucrative speaking industry. Antoniette Rose, your podcast host and celebrated speaker agent, unveils insider success strategies. Discover a nexus of thought leaders and bookers, maximizing your potential in each and every episode. Your ticket to ultimate speaking success begins right here. Catch the transformative insights waiting for you on the Speak Pact podcast, hosted by the industry powerhouse herself, Antoniette Rose.
Welcome back to Speak Pact. We're going to have a lot of fun today, and this is a topic we've touched on, but we haven't gone deep, and we're going to go deep today because I have the sales maven herself in the room, over 25 years in the industry of selling. Why is that important to you as a speaker? Because you're always selling something. If not, even if it's just a concept, you really do need to master the skill of selling. So I have brought to you a master in the skill of selling to share that with you. Nikki Rausch, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, you really kind of, it struck me. You're multi-time author. You've definitely devoted a great deal of your profession and your career to the whole topic of selling. I like your approach. It's not that sleazy feely, what we think of when we think of a salesperson. You really have a soft but highly effective approach. So let's know a little bit about your journey. What got you from what am I going to do with my life to this place?
Well, actually out of college, I had my first professional sales position. I actually got it through a college project, and I had a lot of success in sales, but I came from a very male dominated industry, and I knew that wasn't my type of selling, that hard sell, the go out and hunt big game. So I needed to figure out a way that was going to work for me. And I started studying neuro-linguistic programming. And if that's a new term to anybody listening, it's essentially the study of communication. And I went to study it because I thought it would make me better at sales, but it actually made me a better communicator in all areas of my life, which was a huge bonus. And after being in that industry for a long time, I kind of got to that place where I was looking around one day and realizing, am I going to be doing this same thing in 10 years? Because I've been doing this for a long time. And that I got really curious about that. So I ended up leaving the industry, the tech industry that I was selling into. And I started working actually with my NLP teacher. I was helping to grow her business. So this was my first exposure really to hanging out around entrepreneurs, people who wanted to speak, people who had a message, people who wanted to make an impact in the world. And I found as I was getting to know many of these people that they struggled to make money at what they were passionate about. And I love being around passionate people. And the piece that was missing was that, I don't really know how to have an effective sales conversation. It feels kind of gross, or it feels awkward or weird, or I'm too shy. So I really just kind of started helping these people that I was meeting on the side, just to want to spend time around them, but also want to be of service as well. And my business ultimately was born out of somebody pulling me aside saying, Nikki, I'm getting such incredible results with the things that you're teaching me. You need to teach this to other people. And so Sales Maven was born as a result of that back in 2013. And now I teach people how to have more effective sales conversations. And it's been the greatest accomplishment of my life so far, of being able to teach people this.
Okay, that's fabulous. And we all know, if we're put in a position where we have to actually sell a service or a product, that there's an art and a science to it, and some real training that needs to go into that, which you cover beautifully. But what about, let's just say, for a speaker who's really just getting on stage, they maybe are in a situation where they're not allowed to sell from the stage, but you're still weaving through the concept of, this is the first step in a journey with me. Today, we're going to accomplish ABC, and just giving kind of that nuance of there's more if you want it. Can you talk to me about how can a speaker getting onto maybe a cold stage with an audience that doesn't really know who they are, what they stand for, they're selling their methodology for whatever solution they're bringing to the
Mm-hmm.
to the event that day, the opportunity that day. And they're also trying to very subtly sell, right? That there's more if
Yeah.
they want more. Can you just talk into that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. So I have a couple concepts around that. First and foremost is you want to start with a pre-frame at the top of your talk. So you want to prep people and say, um, what we're going to cover today is X, Y, and Z. Now, many of you are going to want more, and I'll be sure to give you some ideas of how to get that. So here we go, and then you dive into your topic. So just by pre-framing, you planted that seed. And then during the talk, you can still be planting seeds and creating curiosity throughout the talk. So one way to do this is to say, now because we have limited time together, and I show up with 25 years of sales experience, so I can't give you everything I know today, but I'm going to give you the first step to get started when we're talking about buying signals, for instance. Here's one of the most missed buying signals. Now, I have a book about buying signals. There's 17 of them in there, but I'm going to give you this one today because I know it's going to transform your business. So I just planted this seed, right? Nikki's got a book about it. There are 17. She gave me one. What are the other 16? So that's another way to do it. And then should I give you a third way?
Yes, let's do it. I love it.
So the third way is if you have an opportunity to do some Q&A, which oftentimes you do with the audience, right? They love that part. You don't want to just take somebody's question and give it an answer. You want to create some curiosity before giving the answer. So for instance, let's say you ask me a question and I would say, that is a fantastic question. And as a matter of fact, in a private coaching session last week with a client, this is what we worked on. And here was what she ended up doing with the advice that I'm going to give you and the results that she got. Now, here's that piece of advice. So now I just planted a seed. Oh, you can work with Nikki privately, right? And oh, her clients get results. I want results. So it's all this idea of planting seeds without being like, here's my offer, sign up, buy this thing, buy this, buy that. Because there's nothing worse than sitting in a room with a speaker that just feels like they're just regurgitating their sales pitch.
Yeah. Right. We all
exactly. Yeah.
We all have the same reaction. So, okay, these are brilliant. And it's usually the most effective strategies are so simple that we overlook them. Right. It's to see that all of the time, especially in the speaking industry. We try to overcomplicate, make things so complex, and it doesn't need to be. It's really foundational principles.
Mm-hmm.
And you just shared 3 really good ones. Like if that's all you guys walk away, you beautiful Speak Packed audience, right? Walk away with today. It's a win. You've had a win. So as my audience knows, I always create what we call speaker smart sheets of highlights that I really got out of the interview, right? Out of your episode. And this is my take on what you just said. I'd love for you to speak into it. So number 1, so what's the flip-flop to what you just said? The flip-flop is what we see speakers do all the time, which is a death knell to converting audience members to clients or even fans, right? And that is dump all of our brilliance on them. And oh, by the way, here's my QR code, grab my free thing. So you and I are so aligned on this process of pre-framing. Let them know, hey, we're only going to be able to accomplish ABC today with the time that we have, but I've got you, right? I'm going to make sure that you've got some resources that can get you to the next step of what we're going to create today. So you're pre-framing, you're creating that anticipation, and giving them assurance at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then during, you're creating curiosity, you're planting seeds all the way through. So from the time you, probably within the first 5 minutes of starting your talk, planting those seeds all the way through. And then if you do have the privilege of an interactive sort of Q&A, but a Q&A, but even if you don't, you can always bring in those case studies. Right now, I know some of you are thinking, that's great for other people. Sally, she's just a natural born extrovert and she could sell without even speaking a word, whatever. I know you guys are thinking. Some of you guys are out there are thinking that. you guys, I'm from LA, so those case studies that you talked about are so powerful because yes, you're demonstrating that you have helped people move the needle, right? Without saying, check out this other service I offer. If they want you, they're going to find you. When they see how you've helped somebody else, people buy results. They don't buy processes, right? People buy outcomes. They don't buy how you get there. How you get there is going to be important once they buy the outcome, but that's not what they buy. So when they get to hear that case study, hey, I worked with Fred. He was about to lose his position as management over ABC because when it came to training his teams on how to actually close the sale, he just froze up, whatever it is that you say for you. After I was able to work with him for 3 months, he's now actually been promoted. So those people out there in your audience, and what's key with all three of these items that you gave is that you understand what's the angst within those audience members. You really do need to understand what's the pain that they are feeling that your solution brings some relief to. And you just speak to that. So it's not selling, it's serving. Because if they never buy anything from you, they've actually walked away with some executable, actionable skills that can move the dial for them. So that's what I got. Pre-frame, plant seeds, case studies. Do you want to did I miss anything? Or
No, I think you nailed it. The idea too is this. So I said plant seeds, but also create curiosity. Is we have to
yes.
pique their curiosity. You got to get them wanting to lean in, have a question, and then and we might be going there. So you can tell me if you want to stop this. But the other thing is when you come off the stage, people want to come up and they want to engage with you. So this is the prime opportunity, frankly, to sell, to close. Because if somebody's coming up and they're giving you buying signals, for instance, and a buying signal is a verbal or nonverbal cue that somebody gives that indicates interest, your job is to act on that buying signal in the moment. Don't say to them, hey, go check out my website. I've got some offers around that. No, say let's get a time scheduled. Let's talk about this more and let's schedule something on our calendar. Or, I have a program that is super easy. It's going to give you the answer that you want. And you can get it actually by signing up today on this link. Is that something you'd like me to do with you? And then get them signed up right then. That's the peak of their interest. So we've got to take action on that.
I just love that. Buying signals are the verbal or nonverbal questions or cues, not questions, cues of somebody demonstrating interest.
Exactly. Yes.
What about the person who says, I'm really not good at sales. I'm not interested in that. That can go to my sales department or my sales manager. I don't, I'm just a speaker. I get up there, I give the information. I really don't need to know a lot about sales. What would you say to them?
I would say there's probably a good chance that you're leaving people feeling unsatisfied with their interaction with you. Because if you have this attitude of I'm not here to sell, they can, if they want to buy from us, they can, contact our sales department or whatever. You're essentially sending the message to somebody who is giving you a buying signal or who is indicating that they would like more from you, that you're not interested in earning their business. And when you're not interested in earning somebody's business, they'll go somewhere else. They'll find somebody else who shows interest in them and in what's important to them. So it's so crucial that even though if you don't think of yourself as the salesperson, the traditional salesperson, that you're still willing to invite that person to the next step or connect them to the sales team. Don't just say you need to take all the action, you need to do all the work. If you're there representing your company, it is your job to earn people's business, whether you think you're in sales or not, and you don't want to leave people feeling unsatisfied with their interaction with you.
Oh, that is brilliant. Yeah, I think we look at sales, probably because we've had this done to us, as somebody trying to push something on you that you don't want. But really done right, you know you have solutions people need, or else you wouldn't be doing what you're doing, right? So you really, when you reframe it, talk about reframing, in at least if nowhere else in your own mind, that you have the solution that human being is praying for. They're going to find it, whether it's through you or they're going to go somewhere else. So if you really believe that you can help that person, you're basically doing them a disservice by not letting them know that there's an opportunity to get their needs met, their questions answered, their those solution to get taken to the next level with you. Like what?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a kind of a misconception, I think, especially for somebody who is a little bit like, oh, I don't know about sales. That feels kind of awkward or weird to me, or even gross, right? Like if you have that impression. But the thing about sales, the misconception is people think that sales is something you're supposed to do to another person. Well, anytime you're doing something to another person, that feels manipulative and gross. And I teach that sales is something you do with another person.
Mm.
And really, there's a few things, that I can go deeper on, but my idea of sales is if somebody indicates interest, my job is to find out what's going on for them. What's their problem or their need? Do I have a solution that would solve that problem or need? And then here's the third piece that people often miss is, do I have permission to put that offer, that solution in front of them? And so when you start to look at it like that, that involves conversation. And when you're actually in a conversation with somebody and you don't take that to the next level, you don't offer them a solution, then you're right. Like you are doing such a disservice to this person. And you're sending the message like, I don't think you're the right person to work with us, or I don't think you can afford my service, or I don't like you. None of those things are probably true. You're just like, I don't want to sell. But realistically, your job is to uncover what's going on for them. Do I have a solution? Do I have permission? Put it in front of them. Because once you have permission, it's not gross or obnoxious to put an offer in front of somebody. They've just said to you, they want you to.
It's like, I'd like that pizza, please. Nope. Sorry. I don't think you can afford it. I don't know. You don't. Yeah. It looks like you could, maybe you shouldn't have some pizza. Right. We're doing that. And they're like, no,
Any
but
of
I
that,
really do want
yes.
that. I'd like a pizza.
Yeah, you don't want to say to somebody like, you're not our kind of customer. Like, we don't think you'll fit in our restaurant. Like, that feels hurtful and shameful, right? We don't want to ever leave people feeling pinched by us because we're uncomfortable with a sales conversation. Because the worst thing that can happen is somebody gives you some interest or indicates some interest, you offer to talk to them about a possible solution, and they might say, no, thank you. Like, is that really a bad thing? We talked about the pizza restaurant. Like one of the analogies I often talk about is, imagine you go out to a really beautiful and you have like the best meal and it's so satisfying. And at the end of the meal, your wait person, comes by and just drops the check and walks away. And you think to yourself like, oh, well, we just had this great meal, but they didn't even offer me dessert, right? You feel a little bit like, what happened there? Now, you feel a little like you don't have as great of an experience because you feel a little bit like, oh, they're just trying to turn the table and get me out of here. Now, on the flip side is you have this great, beautiful meal and the wait person comes by and says, can I show you the dessert menu? And you say, you know what? Not tonight. I'm so satisfied. I'm so full, but thank you so much. Now, the wait person doesn't go back to the kitchen and go, can you believe that broad? I offered her dessert and she rejected me, right? Like, that's not how they just go like, oh no, they're satisfied. They're good. So when you issue these kind of invitations, when you check to see if somebody's interested and offer them a next step, they're not going to clutch their pearls and say like, how dare you offer me a solution that's going to meet my need or solve my problem. They're going to say thank you and then be able to make a decision as an educated adult. Do they want to take the next step or not? So that's all it is. It truly is a conversation.
So much goodness there. I'd like to highlight a couple of things. I hope people are taking notes because there was a lot of goodness there. Two of the concepts that you brought up, I feel like are very, very important, especially in the speaking industry. We tend to assume too fast. And I'm really big on asking permission, whether it's you let them know, hey, you've just been introduced. Don't start with your resume, please. For the love of everything good, do not start your talk with your resume. Start with some real value, and by the way, do you want to know why I'm a good one to bring this information to you today? Ask permission before you start dumping a little bit of the details of yourself onto that audience. And you get some now they're open to hearing a little. First of all, you've already given them some value. So there's that law of reciprocity. Yeah, why are you the one that should bring this to us today? Right. And then again, you just sprinkle it in throughout. You don't dump the whole resume, but give them some reasons why, Nikki is an authority. I see. She's been in the industry for 25 plus years. She has 3 books out there that are doing really well on the subject. She has whatever. So,
Yep.
So asking for permission before you're asking for anything else. So if you're about ready to give them information on yourself, that's not what they're there for. They're really for the other information. So ask them if it's okay. They're going to say yes. You've got the head nod. You've got more of an open posture, and just give them just enough, right? And then when it does come to, let's say it is a talk where you can give a bit of a pitch. Hey, would you like to know a little bit more about how we could work together if this really fits you, if we're a good fit? Yeah, I'd like to know that, versus, and let me tell you how you can work with me, right? Much different posture. I also like the way I said 2, but there's 3. You talked about invitations. So I would like to invite you to a phone call with me if you'd like to learn a little bit more. Not, hey, book a call with me and subject yourself to 20 minutes of sales hell. I'm going to pound you over the head. No, I'm going to invite you to a conversation. Let's just talk about it, right? Much
Yeah.
different feel, pardon me, much different feel than just assuming. And the conversion rates go way up. It's softer. It feels more inviting and more, I guess, safer when you are asking permission and you're extending an invitation, versus the the opposite.
Yeah. One of the keys, if I can just add a little piece to what you just said there, is
Yes,
that just
please.
to really get into a good conversation with somebody, it involves asking questions. And so invitations can definitely be in the form of a question. So you could say to somebody, what do you think about us scheduling a time to chat more about this? Is
Mm.
that interesting to you? So I kind of just asked them 2 questions back to back. Most people, when you ask them, not only will they say yes, but they'll be ready to pull their phone out and like get a time booked, right? And you do that too. So it's like, can you put things in the form of a question versus a statement, like, oh, you should hear about this program, or oh, you should come sign up for my
Shit
XYZ,
all over
whatever.
them.
Yeah. I have a girlfriend, she used to always say, Nikki, don't should on me and I won't should on you. And I was like, I love that so much. The whole shoulding thing. We don't need to do that to people. So instead, ask, is this something you'd be interested to chat more about? Or is this something you'd like to learn more about? And wait and see what they say. Because once you get that permission from them, yes, tell me more. Now they're more engaged in the conversation versus like, oh, you should hear about this program. Here's the feeds and speeds, blah, blah, blah. Right. We're all like, ugh, gross.
Oh, good. Yes, I love that concept that you gave. That an invitation can come in the form of a question. When somebody's pushing something on us, we're just going to poise to protect because we don't know what's coming. But you've asked a question, and you've also asked for permission or extended an invitation. It's like, okay, I've just accepted that. I can relax. I've given permission for this next thing to happen, right? And I think that this even begins before the stage, before you get up there on the stage, or before you have that next level conversation with whoever met you through that beautiful marketing tool of the stage, whether it's a corporate training or you're on a literal stage, when you're out there really just kind of giving value. And that is getting chosen, right? Why do you win some engagements and not other engagements? A lot of times it's in your pre-framing and in your approach to that engagement. So these skills, whether it's you doing it, as an assistant doing it, or let's say an agent or agency doing it, I think that a big mistake all of the above make a lot is they sell your brilliance, right? They sell your, she's so brilliant. She's done this, and she has this framework that's called framework, FRAME. It's like, holy goodness, do we care? Instead, this is what I bring to the table. When I walk into the room, my target, my goal is leaving everybody with ABC transformation that then you get to enjoy in your organization. You're talking in terms of outcomes, of the value you bring, not how you get there, not why you're the grand person to deliver it, but because that's all important, but it comes later. What is most important and most relevant, number one, to the person who's putting their job on the line to choose you over the 50 other people that applied for that speaking engagement, speak to their outcomes, right, that they want. And then same thing to your audience. It's their agenda that you should be most concerned about, not your agenda. So, and I'm not even a salesperson. I'm like, I am a really good negotiator, a really good networker, a great marketer. But when it comes to sales, I just like freeze up. I'm sure there's some childhood trauma in there somewhere that keeps me from doing that, which was another reason. I mean, a lot of times I pick my expert guests just based on things I'm really curious about. I want to learn too.
Yeah, I love everything that you just said there about it's, it kind of comes back to this concept is most of us think the whole world revolves around us, right? Everything that's happening is happening to me, for me, or against me. And so when you know that about your audience, whoever it is, whether it's the booker or whether it's the people sitting in the room that you're going to be engaged with, if you want them to engage, it has to be for their benefit. It has to be interesting to them. It has to feel like it is for them. Otherwise, they don't care. They don't care what you think, what you have to say. The example I often give about this is I always compare this one to traffic. I'm somebody who hates to sit in traffic, and you get a little bit frustrated, right? Of like, why are all these people in my way when I'm rushing to get somewhere? It's always on the day when I'm in a hurry that there's all these people on the road. And we think about all the people ahead of us, but we never think about all the people behind us who is looking at us as like, you're traffic to me, lady, get out of my way. So when you start to approach everything from sales to anything you want to be successful when it involves another person, and you think, how can I make this for their benefit? It completely changes the conversation.
That changes so much. It does change the conversation. You're spot on. We're singing the same song here. It also changes a lot of other things. So let's say you're a person who still has those pre-talk jitters, like you just freeze up a bit. And there's statistics out there, right? Public speaking is paramount to a house fire, right? Just to some people. But I think the reason for that is directly related to what you just said. You're focusing on the wrong person. You're focusing on you. Is my hair? It's a Texas hair day. Oh my gosh, my hair is all. I don't want to. I put on 5 pounds. Or are they going to receive me because I'm going right after this well-known speaker? And am I going to be able to? Like, it's so self-focused that of course you're going to have those jitters. So talk to that a little bit.
Well, okay. So the idea is to be thinking about, again, what's the experience going to be like for the other person? And how can you prep your internal state of mind before you go onto stage, right? So that is so crucial to how things are going to happen. So I'll tell you, this comes from my background in neurolinguistic programming. There's a technique that's called the NLP mandala, and it's 4 statements that you say to yourself before you do anything. I do them before I go on a podcast. I say these things. I do it before I get on a coaching call with a client. I do it sometimes before I have lunch with my mom. Like, I use the NLP mandala all the time. So here are the 4 statements. Now, I'm going to give the 4 statements to you, but it's important that you recognize that you can't just say it and be like, I said it, whatever. You have to actually feel it in your body. And what's so brilliant about your brain is your brain has the ability to recognize what things feel like in your body without you having to physically experience it in that moment. So think about if we were all sitting around a big table together and I pull out this basket full of lemons and I cut up lemons and I put them in wedges and I pass each one, everybody at the table gets their own wedge, right? And you can see the juice is like dripping out of this lemon. And I say, okay, now every one of us, we're going to pick up our slice of lemon, we're going to put it in our mouth, and we're going to suck the juice out of it. Now, just listening, do you already start to feel that in your jaw, right?
Yeah.
Like, we know what it's like to have something like a tart lemon juice in our mouth. Most of us know what that experience is. So that's what's so great about your body and your brain is you know how to access feelings in your body just by thinking about something. So as I give you the 4 statements, the idea is to think about, what does that feel like in your body when you're having that experience, okay? So the first statement is, I'm glad I'm here. And what is it like for you when you truly are glad to be somewhere? What does it feel like? The second statement is, I'm glad you're here. Think about, what is it like for you when you show up somewhere and you're so delighted by the person or the people that you get to spend time with. And you show up differently, right? Than if you're like, oh, I'm nervous. What are they going to think about me? It's like, I'm just so glad to get to spend time with these people or this person, or however you apply this. Now, the third statement is your power statement. This is the I know what I know. This is standing in your place of expertise. Do you have to know everything? No. Does anybody know everything? No. Right? Like, you don't have to know everything. You just have to know your thing. So your talk, your expertise. So when you show up from that power place of like, I know what I know, you can throw sales questions at me all day long and I'll probably have an answer to almost all of them. Now, if you want to tweak that a little bit and start throwing marketing questions at me, I'm probably not going to have as good of answers. Or if you want to start throwing finance questions at me, like, not my level of expertise. Doesn't diminish what I know though about sales, right? So you can be in that place of power and authority. So I know what I know. And then the 4th statement is, I care about you. How do you behave differently when you truly do care about the person or the people in that room? It's a little bit different than if you're like, it's just a group of people, who knows, but if you like, I really care for them to have a good experience. So now it is very outward focused, even though these are, I'm making I statements. So that's the NLP mandala. And by the way, if any of those 4 statements don't resonate with you, but if you like the concept of embodying this before you go onto stage or before you put yourself in a sales conversation with somebody, change up the statement, make it more applicable, make it more like, have it resonate with you at a deep level. And I've been teaching this for years. I've been doing it for years. The very first time I ever did this, I was sitting in my car about to give a presentation that took me 2 years to book. It was a high level opportunity in the field that I was in at the time. And I was really nervous. And I sat in my rental car with the sun beating down on me. This was back before, AirPods and even Bluetooth headsets. And I just said these 4 statements to myself out loud for about 10 minutes until I was like, okay, I feel like I got it. I can feel it in my body. I go in, I give my presentation. I'm not joking. At the end, a man in the room comes up to the front with me and he said, wow, you seem so glad to be here.
Oh.
Now, I never said that out loud, but he felt it, right? Because it was like pouring out of me. And that's what you want. You've got to manage your internal state of mind. And so if you don't like the NLP mandala, do something else, but do something to get yourself into the right state.
Okay, so manage your internal state of mind. You get to control that.
Yeah.
And I find NLP to be a very powerful way to do that, and quick and easy, right? You were just in your car. You weren't going to a Vipassana for 10 days or whatever, right? You're just something that you can do. You can get away into a little bathroom stall, right? And do what you need to do. Do you speak these in your head, or do you verbalize them? And is there a reason?
So when I can, I will verbalize it out loud, because there is power in actually hearing your own voice in your own ears to reinforce something. So if I'm by myself, if I'm in a car, I am going to say it out loud to myself. If I'm in a public restroom, I might mumble it. But if I'm, backstage and my mic's on, I'm just going to be saying it in the privacy of my own mind.
And it works, right?
Yeah,
But yeah, I
works.
agree with just that resonance of being able to speak it out. So feel it versus state it, right? So the 4 statements, NLP mandala. I'm glad I'm here. I am glad I'm here. Your brain believes what your mouth says.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that very much. I am glad you are here. I'm glad my audience is here. Do I have to know everything? Do I have to know everything? What's the worst that can happen?
So I know what I know.
I know what I know.
Yeah.
I know, because it's going to go in the smart sheets. What I know. And then I care about you.
Yes.
Something you said that I feel like really relates to this is something you said a little bit earlier. Basically telling yourself what's the worst that can happen. So a lot of us procrastinate. Procrastination to me is not a sign of laziness. It's a sign of hesitation because of some hiccup that you have that you're not facing, you're not recognizing. So face it. Like, what is the worst? At so many speakers, they will send 10 pitches and oh my gosh, not one person got back to me. I guess nobody wants me, right? You manage those thoughts. So great. Now I've discovered 10 organizations that may not be interested. I've sent them 5 follow-ups, not heard anything back. Good. Now I know. So I'm going to go to the next 10, right? Whatever it may be. But once you tell yourself what is the worst that could happen if I step onto that stage? Are people going to throw tomatoes at me? Okay. Tomatoes supposed to be good for the skin. All right, good. Whatever. We usually, when we don't face it, we make something so big that our body is just like, don't do that right now. We'll deal with that later. Let's just not go there right now. But once you tell your brain, the worst that could happen if I do these outreaches is no, thank you, or they just don't answer. Can I deal with that? I think I can deal with that. Yeah. So that was something you brought up earlier that I thought was just really, really powerful. Okay. By this time in the show, there are plenty of people who are like, how do I get a hold of this Nikki Rausch? She sounds fabulous. So what are some great ways to get a hold of you?
Thank you. I'll wrap it around a gift first and foremost, is I have an ebook. It's called Closing the Sale, and it's all about boosting your confidence in your consultation calls. So you can grab that by going to yoursalesmaven.com/speakpack. So this is for your audience. I will happily gift that to you. And then we will be connected, right? Like, you could check out my podcast, which is called Sales Maven. Super easy. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram under Sales Maven or Nikki Rausch. So yeah.
A whole ebook. Do it, guys. This is great. Closing, because you already see how brilliant she is. Go get her book, Closing the Sale. You go to yoursalesmaven, maven.com/speak pact. If you're here, you know how to spell that, but pact as an impact, PACT. We do not own SpeakPack, which people a lot of times go to that URL. So yoursalesmaven.com/speakpact. I know that you are on LinkedIn. You have a fabulous podcast. So that's just the Sales Maven podcast,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. Really great resource there. So check her out for sure. All right. What other critical kind of last last minute thing that can you you've already given us so much, but that you can give to our audience, and then we'll go to that ever famous signature question.
Okay. Usually what I'll leave people on is never be afraid to issue that invitation or ask somebody if you suspect that they would benefit from having you come speak at their event, or you suspect that they would benefit from being a part of your program. It's totally okay to say to somebody, would you ever even consider us working together? Would you ever consider bringing me in to speak to your organization? Just ask the question. Now, you may not get a yes right away, but you've just planted that first seed, which may actually bloom at some point, right? It may come to be this really great partnership, or it could just be like, yeah, I don't think your topic is the right fit. And now you know, right? Like you actually already said this, right? You pitch 10 people, you don't hear back. It's like, okay, so
Nobody wants me.
I don't need to chase. I don't believe in chasing clients. And I always say, like, it's okay to just bless and release. If you get a sense like they're not the right fit, bless and release. But if you're wondering about it in your mind of like, I wonder if they would ever want me to speak, or I wonder if they would want to be a part of my program, your job is to invite and just see what they say.
Invite and ask. Ask is such a powerful 3-letter word.
Yes.
Whether you're asking for somebody who might be interested in working for you, working with you, because you know that your solutions would actually benefit them. Yes, but also ask for referrals after you've done a great job on somebody's stage or in somebody's boardroom, whatever it might be. So many speakers don't say, hey, if you really feel like I brought value today, I would love to invite you to introduce me to 2 or 3 of your colleagues who you feel I can bring the same value to, whatever it might be. Now, it might feel a little bit uncomfortable. Do the last exercise. That's what's the worst that can happen. Yeah, I'll think about it. Thanks. I love the way you said, you may not get the answer that you're looking for, but you've planted a seed that is likely to bloom in one way or another later.
Yeah. Yeah.
So much brilliance, Nikki. This is so much fun. All right. Signature question. This is Speak Pact. And universally, this audience, you and me, we are on a mission to create the biggest impact that we can make in this world. And in this world, it's with the power of our voice. And of course, our voice comes in all different ways, in actual sound coming out of our mouths, in what we write, in the way we treat people, right? In the way that we design the services that we offer. It's all different ways of putting our voice out there, our stamp on our methodology. What is, if I don't know, somebody wasn't paying attention and they walked away with only that last thing, one thing that they would actually start putting into action tomorrow or today, what would that one thing be?
The one thing would be to issue an invitation. That truly is the thing that can transform your business. Most people won't decide to hire you or take the next step with you until the invitation is put in front of them. And it's not because they don't want you, or because it's just because their brain is filled with many other things going on. They're making a lot of other decisions. So your job is to make it easy for them. And the way you make it easy is by issue an invitation and let them make a decision in that moment.
Yes, fabulous. What can you give us an example of what it looks like or a couple different examples, what it looks like to issue an invitation? What does that sound like?
Yeah. So as far as issuing an invitation for somebody is, I might say, would you be willing to introduce me to 3 other people that you know that would benefit from the topic that I present on? So by having a specific ask, like, would you, and then I use a softening phrase here, like, would you be willing to introduce me to 3 other people who would benefit from this talk? Now you've given them a concrete, like, thing that you've asked them to do. Now, whether they do it or not, that's up to them, but you've been specific. So that's an invitation. And the other, way is like, is this something that we can schedule a time to chat more about? And then you get it on your calendars, right? So that's what I'm talking about there.
Is there something so what I'm hearing you say, which is something I really believe, is a question like that. Is there something, okay, what I'm seeing, tell me if you see this too, is you're opening more dialogue versus closing dialogue with a yes or no.
You nailed it.
So it's more like, well, yeah, I think that we could probably talk about ABC, or instead of saying, would you like to meet with me? That's a yes or no, right? There's really no conversation there. So you're really kind of opening up more opportunity to learn about them, to give them space in your world.
Yeah. So instead of like, would you like to meet with me? You could say, should we schedule a time to chat about this? Now that's still a potential yes or no question. Or you could say, let's schedule a time to chat more about this. That's more of an embedded command. And people oftentimes will say, okay, and schedule a time with you.
Yeah, and to cement it in themselves too. What are some things you'd like to talk about if we were to meet? Right? And then they can talk about the different things. And so now they've basically just answered a question we would have asked, would you like to talk with me? Would you like to meet with me? Now they've just said some good reasons why we should meet. Like, great, okay, let's set a time. Right? Little nuance, but
Yes.
huge difference. You said something a moment ago that I want to close with because it was really, really powerful. But then you said more powerful things. So I don't know if I'm going to remember it. If not, it'll be in the speaker smart sheets. There's so much more we could have talked about when we interviewed together, just kind of through our communications back and forth. I had a lineup of some things that I was going to maybe address with you. But I think we really went down some very important, powerful paths for this audience. And if you didn't come in understanding the power of getting yourself well-versed in sales, even if you have a salesperson, then hopefully you do now. And you also have an amazing resource in Nikki Rausch, and all of her details will be in the speaker smart sheets as well as in the description. So thank you so much for giving us your precious time today, Nikki.
Thank you for having me.
And for our gorgeous Speak Packed audience, I would love for you to give Nikki some flowers by liking this episode, even if you got a little something out of it. I'm certain if you were listening, you got a whole lot more than a little. So give her some flowers, post it forward, share this because there's somebody else out there who also needs the information we shared today. And I most of all want to thank you for being with us. Ciao, ciao for now.
Thank you for listening to the Speak Packed podcast. To become a recommended speaker of Antoniette's WPC speaker agency, or you are a host or planner looking for a dynamic expert in optimized performance, Antoniette would like to personally meet with you. Secure a time with her at speakerbooker.com. Again, that is speakerbooker.com. It all begins with a vision, a voice, and a pact to impact. Join the Speak Packed movement by joining our new private Facebook group at the link in our show notes. Find us on nearly every social media platform at One Antoniette. That's number 1 ANTONIETTE, or simply #SpeakPacked.